So, I'm the host for today. And I wanted to hear some fun stories about family pet peeves that y'all have. Family-related pet peeves. Things that family members do that irk the absolute shit out of you that they have no business doing. Now, we don't have to name drop or anything, but I want to get started kind of talking about one of mine that drives me absolutely nuts, that I hate. Because I'm a firm believer that family is not just blood related, but I hate when blood relatives come up to you and do out-of-pocket shit. And I hate when other family members defend their shit behavior and say, oh, but they're so-and-so, oh, but they're your... Yeah, I hate that shit. Like, I don't care. It's still out of pocket. You know what I mean? I hate when people use being blood related as an excuse for shitty behavior. So I kind of wanted to hear some stories. Oh, we're doing the title thing too. So,
yep. We're not copies from anyone else.
Ponder.
Yep, all original.
Ponder about what your titles are going to be.
That means think.
Yeah. Think about what your title's going to be. Think about one pet peeve that you have. And let's hear that title.
I got one.
What's your title?
No longer my aunt.
Oh, ooh. Okay. Ooh.
That's so. This is about a woman who I no longer consider my aunt.
We aren't. I haven't not decided if you're talking yet.
Hush. Oh, that's my fault.
Shush.
Okay, so no longer my aunt.
Shush.
I forgot that's what we do.
Kendall.
What?
Do you have a title in mind yet, Ethan?
Yes, I do.
What's your title, Kendall?
Too damn big.
Too damn big. It's a good one.
Yep.
Okay. Ethan?
Nonsensical.
What?
Nonsensical.
Nonsensible?
Sensical.
Sentical?
Sensical. Nonsensical.
Nonsensical. Okay. Alright. I kind of want to hear Kendall's first.
Yeah.
Sure. Me too.
Yeah, I'm one of your angels first, you know?
That's crazy. We all say to you.
Kendall, go first.
All right. So my pet peeve is, well, of course, my family's too damn big.
Oh.
That's a weird pet, but yeah, I know it's a weird pet peeve, but pet peeves are personal things, and that's my personal thing. It's too damn big. I have family that lives in Texas, obviously. Live in Texas, Minnesota, Illinois, California, some in Indiana, Virginia. And it's like, I like meeting family, some of them, most of them. And, you know, I think it's hard to do that. And it's also kind of hard to, like, talk to everybody because they're all so spread out in different time zones. It's like we can never just find a way to talk to each other. Besides, the family's like so big. It's like some of us are like strangers to each other. You know, we're in the same family. We share the same last name, have the same blood. We're just like strangers because it's like it's just again too damn big.
I thought you were saying that they're fat.
I thought they were going to be doing things that they were too damn big to be doing.
Oh. Yeah, something like that. I thought that's where that was going. I didn't
realize.
I feel you on that. My family's very split up.
Just can't stop fucking.
Damn. My family's really split up for kind of the same reason. Like, there's so many aunts and uncles and cousins, and no one can really keep up with each other. So, and then you always gotta, like, one side of the family doesn't really mess with the other side of the family, so you have to, like, plan around 3 or 4 different families for the holidays. Yeah, that gets annoying really fast.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is mine, too.
Yeah.
So, what's on your head? What is that?
What? My beard? Oh, I know.
His microphone.
I'm kind of chilling right. Oh, you're talking about Ethan. Okay.
You didn't see him almost eat the mic earlier?
No, I didn't.
You gotta save those and send them to me.
Okay.
Make him do a TikTok.
Ethan looks so like sinister,
Ethan,
standing out in the shadows.
What was your title again?
Nonsensical.
Nonsensical.
Sensical.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and tell your story real quick. I'm kind of curious.
Murderer, dude.
Okay. So, I said nonsensical because when my experiences, at least I've always, the biggest thing I've had is getting into arguments or things that shouldn't even be arguments, more or less, or just opinionated shit at first, but turns into an argument and always leads to just them saying nonsensical things. And then when you say, hey, like, well, if you think about it logically, this really makes no sense what you're saying, and I'm saying it's the most natural way possible. I'm like, well, I don't care. I'm your, well, let's just say like your grandmother. I'm your grandmother, you can't see things that way. Like, well, I don't think I said anything wrong. I think I was being fair. No, you disobey. And then I think it just depends if it's an older member of your family too. Because if it's older, you know, they tend to have the old school mindset. So any little thing like this bickering or again, or so I just feel like they use the family card and they play that shit and they use it like, oh well, now we're just gonna say nonsensical things that use the card. So whether that makes sense when you look at it like a normal fucking person. But that's kind of, I've always had that issue. Just like any little simple explanation or any little anything, like you give an explanation is already back talking or whatever the fuck they were to call it. And so it always just kind of would shut you down and you're like, oh, well, like, what's the fucking point of trying to, like, actually see the logic and shit, or, like, just feel like that, well, what's the point of this, and that, if it's always just going to be brought down by fucking nonsensical shit.
Yeah, they just want to argue.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they don't really want to address it or actually maybe find a solution or maybe even come to an agreement. No, that shit is out the window. They strictly just want to fucking blabber and blabber and blabber because they have the family part.
Yeah, I get that. One thing I feel like I get whenever you're talking about like people that just want to argue and stuff is like, my mother loves to argue and I'm like her a lot in that way. But like, when talking about the arguing thing though, when they're like, they don't even want to hear it, they don't even try to hear it, I start thinking about it like, I hate when parents say, because I said so. That shit irks the shit out of me. Like, give me an actual reason. I want to understand. Give me a reason so that I can understand, like, this is why. Maybe it was a consequence of something. Maybe it was because
Tell me what I did wrong and how do I not do that again, instead of saying, or tell me, like, if I say, why can't I jump off a bridge, say, because it'll kill you. I said so.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. I don't like when parents do that whole because I said so thing, because it's like, so you would rather me not learn in the long run just so that you can have like a power high right now for absolutely no reason.
Literally.
Yeah. No, I get that. Angel, tell your story.
Yeah. So, I don't consider her my aunt anymore. They're divorced, so that's probably a big one. But my uncle was married to this woman. They had 6 kids together. They were married 20 years. She was cheating on him 20 years. And, it was just, he did everything for her. My biggest pet peeve was that they didn't discipline their kids when they needed disciplining. That is my biggest pet peeve. I hated her because everybody would tell her, your kids are stealing shit from my house. You know, I can understand, kids getting into a fight and you're like, they're kids, What's the worst they're going to do? They're going to get a bump. If they're doing something dangerous, obviously stop them. But if kids are fighting in a bouncy house and, some stickler comes around, they're like, oh my god, your child pushed my kid in the bouncy house. It's bound to happen. But I had cousins who were literally, like, stealing toys out of my house. And those same cousins one time broke a mirror in at one of my aunt's house, and it's like, stop your kids, stop
Yeah.
them. That shit irritates the fuck out of me. You can't let these kids do shit that's causing property damage or stealing things, and then they grow up to be, you know, something bad, not, you know, something not contributing to society, and then you wonder where you went wrong. It's the fact that you didn't intervene when you had to intervene.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of that plays into favoritism too. Like, I feel like a lot of parents favor one kid over the other, to where it's like one kid will do something wrong and the other one could turn around and do the exact same thing, and then they won't discipline that one. And that's how you get those like high and mighty assholes. You know, I feel like people, they have kids and they forget that those kids are going to be people in the future. They're going to be grown adults in the future. And what you teach your kids is how they're going to act as adults. And if you teach your kid that there's no consequences to certain actions, they just go out as adults and start doing whatever it is that they want. You know, and I hate when they say like, oh, well, they're just kids, because it's like you're teaching your kid that whenever he breaks something, he gets to throw a tantrum about whatever, or he's going to get whatever just because he asks. And then whenever stuff like that doesn't happen for him or her in the long run, as adults, you get those adults that every time they don't get what they want, they throw a tantrum. And they do that to other grown-ass adults. And I hate whenever they're like, oh, but they're just kids. And it's like, okay, but that's a lifelong lesson. That's something that they need to get used to, because that's not how life works. And if you're teaching them that that's how life works, where if you sit and you kick and scream and you just get whatever you want from that, they're gonna be pulling that shit well into their adult years. And that's
a lot of those type of baby adults back when I was working at Brahms. People are like, well, I want chocolate on this. Where's my chocolate? Come on, man, I'll talk to your manager.
Yeah, and then you get people like that. You get Karen. That's where Karen spawn. You know.
Yeah. That's how.
Lucky enough for my uncle, I don't know what the hell he did to set them straight, but they all grew up to be decent kids. You know, decent adults at least.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, I mean, because they were literally like, I had like a $30 BB gun at my house. We had a party and it disappeared when they came over. We know that it was them because a week later we found the broken bits of that gun in their house. Yeah. That's what irritates.
It's just running of a story, actually.
Oh,
really? Yeah.
Do tell.
Oh, well, do tell, I will tell. So this happened like, I don't know, like 10, 11 years ago. How old am I? Yeah, no, 10 or so years ago. Just shut up. Anyways, but it was when I was still living, with me, my mom, my dad, we were still living with my grandparents. Again, this was like years ago when we were doing this. And recently, before these events happened, like a family reunion type of stuff. So we had on my dad's side, my aunt, my uncles, cousins, everything. Again, none of which I knew, because as per my last story, my family's too damn big. so, but yeah, I also think about these that side of the family. They're kind of, I would say this in a nice way, fucking crazy. And so, yeah. And there's this one specific family member, but my dad kind of always had his eyes on. Like, he's always like,
had his eyes on.
Yeah, hold on. We talking about that.
Suspicious of, not like that.
Okay, there you go. He's been keeping his eye on him.
Yeah. Fucking weirdos. Anyways. But yeah. He's like a real shady guy. He talks to people who always have this fake aura around him, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of like he's always plotting something. So imagine our surprise when the next week later we're coming home. Well, me and my mom were doing something. My mom gets a call from my dad saying, like, hey, our house got robbed. And so my mom's like, what? And she whipped the car around and found out one of their back windows was broken into. Yep. And the house got ransacked, you know. Like the drawers were pulled out, paper was everywhere. They tried to move the TV, which TV back then was like the size of a whole wall. So yeah, have fun doing that. Those big ass TVs. My Wii was gone and my TV.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I missed that Wii. I had like Smash Bros. Smash Bros. Brawl, like 100% completed on that thing too. I was kind of mad about that, but whatever.
That's so nice.
But yeah, and he instantly knew that it was probably that cousin, because A, it happened too soon. B, why our house of all other houses or area, right?
Yeah.
And they specifically knew to jump the backyard. They knew to hop over the fence, because it's a very high fence, like a 7-foot fence.
Right.
So obviously, then my grandma says, "No, ma'am, kind of ma'am, you're still good for that." Like, no, just because you know him doesn't mean. This thing with people is like, with say some people at least, I'm not saying everybody. There's always like a mask people put on, right?
Yeah.
It's always something people have. They always act differently around different people, right? Either just because they're not comfortable with their original selves. Like, I used to do that a lot as a kid, where I used to like act a different way than what I normally was, especially like around 6th, 7th grade, try to fit in everything. But other people will like do that, like to gain trust, right? So you act this way towards somebody to gain their trust, have them give their stuff to you. Like, yeah, I trust you with this, have this, and then you turn around, sell it on to the pawn shop or whatever, which is probably what they did. My fucking weed to the pawn shop, how dare you? And then, but you know, my grandma, she defends him, because that's like his shit. That's like what,
Like her baby or whatever.
something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's her sister's son or something like that.
Older people will be one of two things. They will shame you with all they have because of their old ways, or they will protect you with all they have because you're all they've got left.
Yeah, I hate that.
For better, for worse.
I would say that ties into something that, like, I like the intention behind that. Like, one thing that people do, there's a mask that they hide behind, and they do the exact same thing. And it's when you have like those religious family members, you know what I'm talking about? Those religious family members. And I'm not talking about family members that have their religion and then you believe something different and they're like, "Oh, good to know." I mean the ones that like they shove it down your throat, you know? Like whenever like when I moved over here, I have a few cousins who are very, very into
religious.
Going to church. Yeah, like just yeah. And at the time I was struggling with a lot of stuff like within myself. And I just remember like the second I moved over here, everyone was always like, "Well, why don't you start going to church with me?" And I'm like, my hardships are not like, my personal belief is that my hardships will not be fixed. Yeah, they will not be fixed from that.
I'm depressed. I don't feel good. Wait, you put Jesus in your heart.
It wasn't really that. It wasn't really that. It was more so just certain choices I was making and the fact that I was struggling in like a new environment and things like that. And it comes from a caring place. It does. But what I hate is whenever I'm like, "Oh, I'm not I told one of them, I said, I'm not religious." And they were like, "Well, you just haven't found the right church. You just haven't." And I'm like, "No, I'm not like it goes in one ear and out the other." You know what I mean? And they're like, "You just haven't found the right church. You just haven't found the right branch. You just haven't." I'm like, "That's," or they'll be like, "You just haven't opened up your heart." And I'm like, "But no, I haven't, because I don't believe that that's how that works." Like, what part of that do you, like, and I hate whenever people use religious stuff as, like, a reason to be like, "Well, I'm disregarding what you believe for your own benefit." And it's like, are you, though? You know what I mean? They'll you know what I mean? Like, they're like, "Well, I want you to come to church with me, and I'm totally ignoring everything you're saying right now, because I want you to be saved, because I want you to, you know what I mean? And I don't think people realize, like, your family members are still just people. Your family members are they're totally different from you. They have their own thought process, they have their own experiences, and I feel like family members forget that a lot. Like, we're not all the same. As blood-related as we are, we're going to have different beliefs, we're going to have different ideas, we're going to have different opinions. And my family is pretty good about that, but there are a few to where, like, if you don't believe what they believe, then it's like they look at you confused. They're like, what? Huh?
Huh?
How do you not do it? How can you live like
Yeah, in this family.
Believe in Buddha?
In this family, and it's like, it's not even, it has, I feel like people, they don't understand, just because we are related does not really mean that.
That's because I don't believe in the flying spaghetti monster, which you all should. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person or anything like that.
Yeah, and I feel like that's something that maybe a lot of people relate to, is like the religious aspect of it, where you have like a parent or someone who's like super religious, and they're like, well, I believe that your soul's in danger because you don't, and it's like, okay, but they don't believe, like as good as your intentions might be, it's one of those things where I'm like, just leave it alone. Don't even bring it up. I think, honestly, as a family, I don't like having religious conversations. I don't, because I know it's going to start an argument, because I have a couple different branches in there, and I have a couple of different beliefs in there. And there's just this one cousin I have that no matter how many times people tell her, just leave it, don't even bring it up, don't talk about it, don't worry about it, so-and-so doesn't need to have that conversation, that's not something we need to be talking about. We're not talking names.
We're not name dropping, Kendall.
We're not name
There's
dropping.
a reason.
But
you don't have to drop her name. Just say it. Okay, fine.
Yes.
We're not gonna drop examples either.
No, we're not gonna drop examples either. But yeah, and it's not that, sometimes they're good about not overdoing it, but it's enough to where it puts me off, to where I'm like, you don't respect me as a person, and now I don't want to be around you. You know what I mean? And I feel like if you're really concerned about the family aspect of things, I think people need to be more concerned with that. Like, how are you presenting yourself as a person? I don't care about you're her aunt, you're her niece and cousins, and this is my dad, this is my uncle's third removed on his pig's left arm. I don't care about all that. You know what I mean? Like, just literally, like, understand the fact that the people around you are all different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like that's so hard.
At the end of the day, we're all just people,
Yeah, I feel like that's so hard for religious people to grasp, though. The fact that for some reason, I feel like they struggle the most with that. That and old people's views on stuff.
Yeah, if you're not religious, you're a communist or whatever,
Yeah, old people are just so set in their ways. It's just like, well, I mean, that's all they've. So, sometimes they're not. Those are the best kind. I mean,
my grandma's pretty cool.
I know my grandma from Mexico is awesome. I mean,
yeah,
she still acts like a teenager.
I will say though, like,
my grandma still watch cartoons.
Yeah, I will say though, like, my grandfather, he's pretty against like the whole tattoo and piercings things, and I have a lot of both. And he is still very much like, okay. He is like, like, one that really got him kind of thinking about controversially was, I have a neck tattoo. And it says something very sentimental to me, and it's in reference to my grandmother who passed a couple years ago, and which was his wife of like forever.
1,000 years.
Yeah, like, actually. Like, I'm pretty sure they're, like, high school sweethearts or something. And they were still together up until lately. But I showed him the tattoo, and normally I get, like, a very brief speech. Not even a speech, really. More like in passing, like, he'll see a new tattoo or piercing or something, and he's like, you know how I feel about him. But, and that's all he'll say. But for this one, he kind of like, he saw it, and he was quiet for a long time, and he was like, you know what? He was like, I really love the what that stands for. He was like, I really, love that, like the sentimental behind it. And he left it at that. So it's not that people can't change. Something that I've noticed is like, it's not that people...
different.
Yeah, it's something that I've realized when it comes to family members is it's not that they can't change. It's that you're not worth changing for, in their opinion. And I feel like that's the God's honest truth. Because, like, a lot of us are first, like, oldest kids, right? Kendall, are you oldest?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hate when parents, they do something to us and then they're like, well, they'll raise us a certain kind of way and it'll be a bunch of toxic stuff. And then for their second kid, they'll not do half the crap that they did to you. And they'll be like, but I learned, but I didn't have a manual, but okay, but now you're using that as an excuse for your shitty behavior. You decided when to rise up as a parent, and all you're letting me know right now is I wasn't enough for you to do that. I am a firm believer in people can change. People know what they need to do. People know the sacrifices that they need to make. And I'm a firm believer that if they don't do it for you, it's because they don't think you're worth doing it for. And I'm not saying you're not worth it, but it, like, I had to learn that the hard way with my mother. Because, like, it's not that she doesn't care about me as a person, but I think she held it a lot of resentment inside for maybe some missed opportunities that she had at a young age because of having me, or, whatever it is. And there's a lot that I could get into about that. But a lot of the times I'll see the way that she treats my brother versus me, or even Lily versus me. And I'm like, so you can be nice. You can do these things. And she's like, well, I didn't know what to do whenever I had you. It's like, did you get a manual for your second kid? You know? Did you get a manual for the second one? Did you learn? She's like, well, I learned from you, obviously. And I'm like, but that's not my job. It wasn't my job to teach you how to become a parent. If you weren't ready to become a parent, maybe you shouldn't have become a parent. There's no reason. Like, it doesn't get easier. And me and my siblings are very different from each other. So even if you learned with me, that's a completely different person. So are you saying that you maybe, like, it's a personality thing for sure. Because me and my brother are completely opposites. Completely opposites. So it's not that she didn't know what to do and she had me. It's that Anthony was the kind of kid that she wanted. So that's the one that she put the work into. And I'm not saying she's bad for that. I think it's something that's unavoidable. But once I learned that, I realized to be like, okay, we're different people. We have different priorities. And I was able to think about it rationally and be like, it's not that she doesn't really care about me, but this is someone I have to deal with eventually. Or don't. I hate when people, they're like, oh, well, we're family, so we're going to be around for forever. Like, whenever I moved in with my dad, after moving out from my mother's place, I was in therapy for a really, really long time. And he would keep telling my therapist, but that's her mother. She needs to have a relationship with her mother. And my therapist, I'll never forget it, my therapist basically looked at my dad and was like, but we're not talking about her mother. We're talking about Kat. Kat's the one that's here. Kat's the one that wants to better herself. Yeah. We're not talking about... And he would be like, but shouldn't she want a relationship with her? And...
Balls blown off.
Well, my therapist was kind of like, why would she want that? After all the things that you know that have happened, why would she want that? Why is she supposed to want that? And he's like, we only get one mom, da-da-da-da-da. And he just looked at her and was like, and her mother only gets one cat. But, yeah. It's always, oh, but that's your aunt. Oh, but that's your mom. Oh, but that's your dad. Oh, but that's... And it's like, but I don't hear anyone telling them, oh, but that's your daughter. Oh, but that's your niece. You know what I mean? I never hear it the other way around. And they're like, well, you need to leave room in your heart for this and this and that. And it's like, it's not that I can't do that. It's that they aren't doing it. It has to go both ways, regardless of who the family member is. And that was another big pet peeve that I had is I hated hearing like, oh, but she's your mom. Oh, but she's your mom. Are you going to go see her? And I'd be like, no, I don't want to be anywhere around her. Oh, but she's your mom. And it's not that I don't care that she's my mom. It's that whenever I hear people say that, all I hear is, oh, but she has an excuse for being that way to you. And it's like, now I'm just thinking, like, if you had the opportunity, are you saying you would do the exact same thing to your kid? And they're always like, no, I wouldn't. And it's like, so why is it okay for her to do it to me? Why is it okay for so-and-so to treat me like this? But if I were to treat her like that, all of a sudden it'd be an issue. You know what I mean? I think respect is a two-way street. And I think being blood-related has nothing to do with any of that. You know what I mean?
Because related to you is being to respect them, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Not saying you have to be an asshole to them, but you have to be like an ass kisser.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
Because I show respect to anybody who's older than me, just like that, right? But if they open their mouth with, "What's up, fuckface?" You know, I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, how you doing, sir?" You know, I'll be like, "What's up, Jimmy?"
What's
Yeah.
up?
Yeah, I had a teacher who used to pull on my ear, and I started calling her by her first name. So back in second grade,
I bet
forgot what her name was.
with that one.
Probably Bridget.
No, she was a Hispanic lady, but she got fired a few years down the line. So
Nice.
Yeah. My biggest thing is I hate whenever I think people just need to remember that we're all people. Like, I'm not your child. I'm not your thing to play dress up with. I'm not this one so that you get a redo on life. Like, that's not what this is. Like, I'm my own person. That's probably another big pet peeve that I could talk for forever about is parents treating their kids like they're their second life and they just want to live vicariously through their kid. Like,
yeah,
Like The Sims.
I'm not your project.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, that's what irritates me when parents use that phrase where it's like, well, no one gave me a manual when you were born, right? But the age difference is 5.
Experience. Yeah.
But the age difference is 5 years. It'd be one thing if it was like I grew up, I'm 30 years old, and you somehow managed to have a kid again, you know, and you treat this one completely different. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you've gotten better over the years. It's been 20 years. Maybe that's why, you know. That I could see that, but it's a 5-year difference. You did not learn how to parent better in those 5 years that they were growing up.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Because I still got treated, you know, if I did something, I got my ass beat, and it wasn't like an abusive thing. It was like, you know, you got spanked, and you learn not to do that again.
Right. Yeah.
And then 7 years down the line, when your little sibling is doing the same thing, and all they get is a stern conversation, and then they get let to do whatever the fuck they feel like again.
Mm-hmm.
That's irritating because it's like, what?
Yeah, I feel that for sure because like that happened a lot with me. Is like I would do something wrong, and maybe I've done this before, maybe I haven't. But I would do something wrong, whether I knew it was wrong or not, or I'd be going through something, or I'd be emotional, or whatever it is. And my parents would always handle it, not my dad, but my mom and my stepdad would always handle it with yelling, and you're grounded, or whatever the case is. And, but my brother could do something wrong or forget to do something or whatever the case is, right? And they would just be like, come on, like, really, you know, you're not supposed, and he would be like, yeah, I know, but it was just because of this, and this. I'm like, damn, why wasn't my excuse good enough, you know? Like, my brother, if he missed schoolwork, and they would be like, how come you miss that? And he would be like, oh, it's just because I had this, and this going on, or whatever the case is. And then for me, I would miss an assignment, and they're like, really? You already know what's about to happen. Go put your phone on the counter. And I'm like,
oh god.
Yeah, I grew up basically exactly like that, and they can deny all that they want to. It's not really gonna matter because it's the truth.
Yeah,
but,
like
That's why my dad was so picky about the way he raised me over here. Because, and he almost had to be, but that since I was living life like that over there, when I came over here, my dad's biggest thing was like, he talks to me. And that's really all I wanted. Was like, Kat, listen, I got a call from the school saying that you're struggling in this, and this. What is going on? Like, we really need to figure out a system.
Really underestimate the power of just talking to somebody.
Yeah, and that's something that irritates the absolute crap out of me. And it's always like parents with their own kids. But if you have someone out there that is like just totally unfair about how they handle stuff. And I told my mom so many times, I'm like, I just want you to stop yelling. I just want you to stop doing this or that. And she would be like, well, I just want, you to not. And I'm like, that's not helpful. That's not constructive. You know what I mean? I remember there were plenty of times I went up to Dad and I'm like, hey, Dad, I really want to talk to you about something real quick. And he would drop everything and be like, okay, Or whenever he couldn't, he'll be like, okay, I'm in the middle of something right now. And my dad still does it. I'll walk into his room to ask him like a random question, but I'll see he's like in a meeting or something, so I'll leave. As soon as he's done with the meeting, he's like, to this day, comes over and he's like, hey, did you need me for something? What's going on? And it's always something stupid to where I'm like, can B's here? Like, you know what I mean? But my dad's thing is like, my dad's thing is like, he doesn't know if it's going to be a serious conversation, if I actually needed something. He doesn't know what the conversation is going to be about. So he handles it the same way every time. And he respects my space and I respect his space. You know what I mean? And we have a very healthy relationship because of that. More healthy than most. But it's so easy to obtain that. And I hate when people are like, oh, my kid's my best friend. Oh, my mom's my best friend. I'm not saying you have to be best friends. I'm saying you're stuck in this situation. You're a parent. You're stuck with your parent. Learn their personality. Have a conversation. Compromise. Figure out what's going to work for the two of you. Because what works for me and my dad doesn't work for Anthony and my dad. You know what I mean? Their personalities clash sometimes too. But it's just the idea that if you sat down and you talked about it, it would go by so much smoother. You would never have to worry about half the stuff that most people worry about growing up. I'm not saying don't ground your kids. I'm not saying, because there are some kids, I'm a firm believer, there are some kids out there that actually need their ass beat. I'm so for real. But it's not the majority. Most of the time your kid is upset and just wants to talk to you. In order for you to be that strict about life and to not want to hear anything your kid has to say, you have to genuinely believe that your kid does not want to be understood. And if you believe that your kid does not want to be understood, are you dumb? Do you think people just go around not being like, I don't feel like being understood today. I just kind of feel like being an ass for no reason.
Some people do.
Some people, do y'all really think that about your kids?
Some kids do. Some kids are that way, unfortunately.
Fortunately.
And it's not
That's
that
how their brain works,
Yeah, and it's not. That's what I'm saying. There are some kids that genuinely do feel like being a problem, and if that's the case, do everything in your power to figure out what the problem is. It could be a chemical imbalance. It could be literally anything. But majority of the time, it's a problem that can be solved. And I just hate whenever parents act like their life is so hard. And it's like, it's not that I don't admire parents for what they do, especially those single parents out there that work 2-3 jobs just to make ends meet. It's not that you don't work hard, but all I'm saying is so much stuff would be fixed if you're like, I'm not going to yell at this person. Or, like, Dad, there'll be times whenever Dad's thinking about 1,000 things at a time, and I'll come up to him with something really stupid. And for a minute, he'll want to yell at me and be like, I'm so for real. He'll want to be like, Cat, leave me the fuck alone. Like, for real. But I think he's only done that like twice. And even then, he's come up to me and he's like, listen, I'm dealing with this, and this that's at work. And I'm dealing with this, and this on the side. So I'm not in the mood right now to do that. It is so easy to say that to someone, And if you want to talk about parenting, your number one thing as a parent should be teaching your kid boundaries. you know, and be like, look, I respect your boundaries, and I need you to respect mine right now. I'm dealing with this at work, you know, not in the right headspace to, you know, deal with all the crazy today. Say that. It is okay to say that. A lot of parents think it's not. I feel like it would be more productive if parents were like, listen, there's no way for you to understand. I'm not talking about telling your infant baby, but, you know, like, kids can understand so much. I hate when parents are like, well, they're only 4, they're not really going to understand. You don't have to break down your taxes for them, but you want them to get in the right mindset of being like, my mom is stressed out right now, I need to give her some space. You know,
but it has to be done right though. You don't want to be like, oh, I'm busy all the time. Yes, you got to make time, you know, but you don't want it to be where your kid thinks they don't want to spend any time with me. That's why they've told me they don't have time, you know.
No, I mean, I'm not saying that parents are just saying, oh, I don't have time for you right now. I'm just saying, like, parents are so quick to get mad at their kids. I'm sure if some parents really thought about it, the majority of the times that you've actually raised your voice to your kids has nothing to do with what your kid's done. It has to do with the day that you've had. And I'm a firm believer in that. No one gets mad at a kid for asking a question out of the blue the way that some of these parents do. I think it has a lot to do with everything that they're thinking about, and then here comes their kid. You know what I mean?
Asking why the dog shot him last night.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I caught my dad on a bad day this time, so my parents got a phone. I didn't even do anything. There was just that many angels at my school. They got a phone call, called the wrong one. And my dad took my phone, and he was like, I'm going to break it if I get another phone call. And I said, one, that wasn't me who did that. I'm not in that class. I can show you my schedule on my phone. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't give it back to me. And I don't know what went through my head to say, well, you're not going to break it. No. He broke it. He broke it right in front of me. He stomped on it. That's the first time I'd seen him jump in a long time.
That's
you know, my dad doesn't jump. I mean,
he's not a jumper. He's not a third.
He's not a jumper. But you know, that's the first time I had seen him jump. You know, he was pissed. You know, he apologized to me when he found out that it really wasn't. No, he couldn't. He didn't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
He bought me a flip phone. Great. At a garage sale that still worked. You know, it's the thought that counts. But at least he apologized to me when he realized that was that.
Yeah.
But he was like, but you don't talk to me like that either, son. You can't just, you know, you can't just be like, well, you're not going to do it just because I haven't done it.
On you.
Yeah, you know.
Did you actually say that, though?
Yeah, I said that. I was like, you're not going to break my phone, Dad. Because he was always threatening me with breaking my stuff. He was like, I'm going to break your Xbox. I'm going to break it to do it. And he never did anything. And I called him out on it. He broke it. My little brother has called him out on it and been this close to the edge. And when I mean this close, I mean my dad's like gotten the look on his face, turned bright red, whipped around 360, took a step, and then really thought about how much he paid for that device.
Yeah.
And calmed down.
I don't understand parents breaking stuff. Like, I think you're teaching your kids all the wrong things whenever you start breaking stuff. And what I mean by that is when you as an adult, as the one that your kid looks up to, if whenever you get mad and you start breaking stuff, that is going to lead to a 20, 30-year-old man who has no emotional control issues. And whenever he gets mad as a grown-ass adult, starts breaking stuff and throwing shit at their women and breaking all their kids' shit, it's just going to be the same thing all over again. Like, if you...
the cycle.
When you start breaking stuff in front of your kid as retaliation for whatever is happening, you teach them that that's an okay way to act as an adult. You teach them that that's okay. When you get mad about something, it is okay for you to destroy stuff, and it is okay for you to put your hands on people. That's what you teach your kids. And I just want parents out there to think about it for a second.
I think it's okay to break your kids' stuff, not because you're mad, but because they don't get it. No. I'm gonna take away this item from you, and they go behind your back and they constantly take it. there's no way for you to hide it. So it's like, I'm just gonna get rid of the problem. Now you don't have anything.
That's not how that works, though. Because, again, you're still teaching a new human being that's learning how to be a human being that is okay. It is not okay. If you're talking about grounding a kid, that's totally different than what we're talking about. We're talking about actually breaking stuff for no reason.
Like your TV or something like that.
Yeah.
No, not for no reason. That's what I'm saying. Like, if a parent takes away their kid's, like, Xbox or something, right? And the kid just is constantly taking it back from them, will not understand, and you cannot figure it out.
Oh, but sell it, not break it.
Well, no.
I guess that's fair.
Are you talking about kids that whenever you ground them or whatever, like, they keep doing the same thing over and over again?
Yes. No. So
sit the kid down and be like, why is it that you're acting out?
No, say when your parents took stuff from you because you were grounded, right?
Okay.
Did any of y'all, and I'm guilty of this, go behind their back and grab that item the same night you were grounded?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah. Right? They never found out because I was just like that, right? But there are kids who will, like, be very disrespectful in front of their parents and do it. You know, the parents go about it all the right way. They take their stuff, they sit down, they talk to them.
If your kid is being disrespectful to you at that level as a parent, it's because you're not doing something right. That's just the honest truth. It's because you're not doing something right. If they don't respect your authority and they keep going behind your back, I want you to think about a time where your kid asked you to respect something or to show up or to sit down and talk about something, and you told them sure, and you went along with it, and then later you didn't do it. If your kid doesn't respect you, it's because you don't respect your kid. That's literally, if you're talking about blatant disrespect like that to where you're like, you're grounded, I want you to understand that you're grounded because of this, then if they don't respect you, any normal kid in that situation would not do that. I didn't respect my parents because my parents didn't respect me. Your parents sure as shit don't respect you, so you weren't respecting them. I mean, that's just how it is. I think if you have a problem with your kid over and over and over again, and they're doing the same thing over and over and over again, that's called a pattern, and it's called a pattern for a reason. There's a problem. If the problem is a respect issue, if the problem is that they have something going on at school, you would need to actually get to the root of it, because sitting here and breaking stuff, if any resort, I don't agree with that at all. If any resort of yours is to break personal property, no matter what, that kid is going to take that as an okay thing to do. And that's how we get all these grown-ass men and all these grown-ass women that put their hands on people and break stuff and think it's okay because they know that they're going to get whatever they want out of that. But breaking stuff at any resort is not, you're either going to teach that kid that it's okay, or that kid is going to be scared of you. And neither one of those is healthy. It's never okay to just break stuff. If your kid keeps going behind your back, because I did it a lot. I went behind my parents' back a lot. But it was because I didn't trust them. I didn't trust them with certain information. I didn't trust them with my own feelings. I didn't trust them with opening up to them about stuff. But my parents did a lot of things wrong in order to make me feel like that. And I'm not saying some of it's not the kid's fault. I mean, like, if you have actually tried your absolute hardest to sit them down, have a conversation, they're still not listening, something's going on at school, you've asked all the teachers how they've been acting at school, if you've literally exhausted all options at figuring out what the problem is, take your kid to a doctor. Because at that point, you're like, something is, like, actually wrong. This kid, like, and it's okay to say that. It's okay. If you're like, I've actually tried everything, I need professional help with this, you can do that. I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying parents don't exhaust that option, or they don't try before they exhaust that option. You know, you have to try before you decide to take your kid to a doctor and be like, I have no idea what's going on with this kid. Like, but there are times where there are kids out there with chemical imbalances that are out here murdering cats that they find. Like, your kid might actually be sick. Yeah, your kid might actually be sick. There may be something going on mentally in there that you actually can't do anything about. But the idea of, as a grown person, breaking property to prove a point, you're not as grown as you think you are. If that's any resort that you have. If that's any resort that you have, then that's just something that... And I'm not saying people don't get angry. Like, you can get... If you get angry on the game and you're throwing stuff around, you probably need to check your emotional intelligence really fast. You probably... Yeah, I mean, it's just the truth. Like, there's absolutely no reason to act like that. Like, at all. It's too much. And if you can't control your emotions to where you stop yourself from... You need to practice that. Like, actually. Like, go see a therapist. Practice that. I don't know how to practice that looks like, personally. But...
Or just don't play games and make it act that way.
Yeah, or, like, if you just can't handle that mentally, then just don't do that. But there's no reason.
The problem with that statement right there is people think they can handle it, so they go back to it. That's the problem.
What do you mean?
Me, I play COD. I think I'm decent at it, right?
No.
If I'm having a shit day and I hop on and the first thing that happens is I get destroyed by some level 2000 or whatever that never gets off the game and that's all they do, I'm going to be absolutely irate.
Yeah,
and that's when I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go.
I'm talking about whenever, like, you're playing the game and, like, you play the game, you don't break your controllers over it.
I used to.
That's a problem.
And this was,
you need to...
And that, yes, I know. No, no, and the only way I'd stop myself was, is this stupid? Just do something else. And that's really what got me to stop. If I'm getting upset...
But wait, I stopped doing that. I was just thinking, like, this costs a lot of money that I sometimes paid for.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing that I did too, but, you know,
that's
I used to.
Like, really, that's something that is, like, that should really make you think about it too, is, like, the fact that you had or used to have those reactions, that kind of stuff, like breaking actual physical property over a game, you probably did that as a kid because you would see your parents breaking shit to prove a point.
I was an angry kid.
I was just an angry kid sometimes. No, I was just an angry kid sometimes. That's why I went behind my parents' back.
No,
if they grounded me...
There's no such thing as someone who is just angry all the time. You're probably angry about something. Unless you're Kindle, then you just... It's your default.
No, I mean, my parents would ground me, and they'd be like, well, you're failing this class. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a fair thing to do. I'd be pissed about it, because they grounded me. I'd be like, well, you don't know what it's like at school. No, I just didn't feel like doing 2 or 3 assignments that caused me to fail. That's all it really was. And so I would be pissed off that they grounded me.
That's an extreme reaction to being grounded.
I didn't break shit. I'd be, irritated. I'd be like, I can't believe they grounded me.
You shouldn't, yeah, I know, but you shouldn't be irritated. If your parents are explaining to you, if actually talking to you about stuff before they ground you, you shouldn't be that upset. Like, they should be like, this is why we're grounding you. You know what you did. I'm doing this because I believe that this has part of the problem. What are your thoughts on... If your parents aren't sitting you down having an actual conversation about why you're grounded, that's probably why you're mad that you're grounded.
Before they would, like, ground me or, beat my ass or whatever, they would genuinely ask me why and what's wrong. And honestly, nothing was wrong. Nothing was wrong, I just didn't feel like doing it, but I wasn't going to tell them that. You
can. I think that's a perfectly okay thing to say. Like, as a kid, you're like, I don't feel like doing this school stuff. And I think it's totally okay to say, I just think that, like, or, like, I did that with my dad, too, to where I'm like, I can't do school right now. And he'd be like, why? And I'm like, I really just don't want to. And he's like, well, why do you not want to do it? And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't feel like doing it. And he is like, well, there's got to be a reason you don't feel like doing it. And it forces me to think. And I would be like, you know what? I'm actually really upset about this, and this. Actually, I really do have this, and this going on. That's a totally okay, normal conversation to have. My thing is, parents, they build this little bubble to where you can't say that to them. Because they've created an environment where you feel like it's not safe to express that. If that's your opinion, and you can't express that in your own home, that's a problem. You should be able to say that. And it's like, I'm not saying parents don't get mad that your kid isn't doing their shit. I'm just saying, you know, sometimes they don't feel like doing it because they're so emotionally overwhelmed with other stuff going on. You need to get to the bottom of that. And they're like, well, I don't understand why school is important anyway. Well, one, it's required. I will go to jail if you don't go. And also, I need you to understand basic things.
Go to school.
Yeah. Or just be like, you need to understand these things, and that's half of my job done, and then I teach you life stuff. That's the agreement that happens in life. You know what I mean? Like, explain that to them. And they're like, but I don't really care about those things. And it's like, okay, do me a favor. Let's get to the end of this year. And if you can come up with better options, then we'll discuss that. Because homeschooling is an option now. Online school is an option. There are other options than going to school. It could be that they feel like they don't learn well in that environment. Because I know I learned better self-teaching myself than actually going to school. I learned way better that way. On online school, like showing myself how to do it, maybe it's a learning process thing. Maybe your kid just needs a change of environment. Maybe those teachers aren't explaining things the way that they need in order for your kid to comprehend it. Is your kid comprehending? There's multiple places to go. And I think if you create an environment at home, then that shouldn't be a problem.
It's this motherfucker.
So.
I don't know. I just felt like I don't feel like doing it was acceptable. And I still don't. I don't feel like doing it is not acceptable.
You don't feel like it?
It's like
it's a perfectly acceptable thing to say.
If you can't figure out why you don't feel like doing it, that's when someone else has to come into the picture.
Yeah.
Or you have to give it time.
Most kids aren't emotionally mature enough to say, this is why I feel this way. Most kids aren't.
Yeah, I was an 8-year-old. I was like, I don't feel like doing work. I don't feel like, even as an adult, nobody ever goes, I want to work. Well, I do when I don't have a job, but that's because we need a job in order to
But
live
what I'm saying
life.
is that mindset that you need to get used to dealing with that mindset as a kid so that you can have that kind of conversation with yourself as an adult. And I feel like a lot of parents don't take enough time out to explain stuff. They don't create an environment where it's safe for young people or kids to go, I don't understand why I have to do this. It is your job. That is a life lesson. Because I wake up and I'm like, I don't understand why I have to go to work today. And I'm like, oh yeah, I have to take care of all these things. It's not about whether your kid wants to do it or not. It's making your kid understand you have to do things that you don't want to do sometimes. But because of this, and this, whatever it is, there's reasons why. Because kids don't understand why they have to do things that they don't feel like doing. That's your job as a parent, as someone who is teaching the next generation of people. That's your job to take time out and be like, well, I don't always feel like going to work, but if I don't, these are the consequences of that. You have to explain that. Kids aren't born with that knowledge to where they're like, oh, if I don't go to school, then I'm not. They don't understand that. As a parent, that's your whole job, is to teach them how to be people. And if you aren't explaining any of that to them, I don't want to see any surprised faces when your kid doesn't know that he's not supposed to hit women because da-da-da-da-da. And your kid doesn't know that he's not supposed to throw tantrums on the floor at the ripe age of 30. And your kid doesn't understand why at 30, why he has 25 different things and he can't hold a job because he didn't feel like going that day. I don't want to see confused faces. It could all be avoided. Take time out and explain that. Explain that to your kid. Yeah. They have questions. That's totally normal. You're supposed to teach them these things. That's a totally normal thing.
To all the parents watching this, this is towards you. If probably good parent. I don't know.
Oh, or I mean, whenever we have kids, the whole point of generation to next generation is to not make the same mistakes over and over again.
Yep.
And I feel like we're at such a standstill right now because I feel like our like our grandparents and our parents, I feel like that's like copy and paste people right there, which is ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're still dealing with a lot of the same parenting problems. in the same family-based problems that we've been dealing with for forever. If we all respected each other as actual people, we wouldn't run into half of the problems that we run into. And that's just true. We need to take time out to say, this is why. Teach. If you're a parent, you're automatically a teacher.
Yep.
That's it. That's
how it was back in olden days in the Middle Ages.
in the Middle Ages.
The Dark Ages.
The Dark Ages of 1989.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how animals learn.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
When a baby is born, it's up to the mother or father. Cheetahs, for example. When a baby cheetah is born, that mother cheetah was to teach that baby cheetah how to hunt, how to raise babies, how to lay eggs or whatever, how to make their own food and everything.
Lay eggs.
I don't know how the fuck are cheetahs born. Are they mammals? I don't know. But similar to how people are, right? You got to teach a kid, you need to go to school to do things. You need to learn how to control yourself in public, You got to teach them why they can't go out, drop their pants, and take a shit in the middle of a Walmart,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand how people get those mindsets.
Like, I don't know. I don't know if people can just act like the way they do in public
I
sometimes.
think that's the root of all the problem, is how
like
parents
how they were
teach.
taught.
Yeah. I think that's the root of every single problem that runs throughout everything. Because if you were teaching your kid how to carry themselves correctly as an adult, we wouldn't have all of these adults that disrespect other people and, shove stuff down other people's. Like, I feel like every single problem that we could think about goes back to, like, who raised you? Like, who taught you that was okay? And
It goes back.
And then, of course, there are some times where you just have people just wired differently or wired wrong. There's also that possibility, but that's like a very slim possibility.
Yeah, it's very slim. It's very, very slim.
Yeah.
I just feel like we need to be more careful with how we understand each other. We need to be more careful with how we teach each other, because like we're not done learning.
I'm
We're
still
not done
learning.
learning. The person that I was living with my mother and the person that I am living with my dad are two separate people.
Yeah. No, the person who I was yesterday is different from the person I am today.
Yeah, but the thing is we're always evolving, and there are some times where, like, I'll go up to my dad and I'm like, hey, I'm a different person today, by the way. I don't like this and I do like this. And he's like, all right, well, thanks for letting me
Like
know.
how Thursday is color purple now, not brown. 7's now pink. So
No, not like
No, that never changes for her.
that never
You're right.
changes for me. But just certain views that I have on stuff, like some days I wake up and I really don't like football that day, and I'll tell him straight up, I'm like, look, I do not care about football today. And he's like, okay. And then sometimes I'm like, what's going on? I mean, like, but the thing is like, when I do or don't like stuff, he doesn't berate me for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not that, like, I mean, he'll try to egg me on stuff, like he'll be like, oh, well, why are you feeling like that? Let's get to the root of it. Maybe we can come to an agreement. But overall, he is not like, I don't even know who you are anymore. I can't deal with this. And in fact, I'm going to treat you like shit and then act like I didn't later. Like, no one does
can't
that.
even.
Yeah, like, no one does that. If you as a parent have ever told your kid, like, oh, well, I just didn't know what I was doing. So, like, I just would love to see what people think about, like, go to work like that. I would love to see bosses tell their employees, like, well, I just didn't know what I was doing whenever I looked at your hours. And
I was drunk,
yeah, you're going to feel like you're in poor hands. And if you don't want your kid to feel
Nationwide,
like
are you in
that,
poor hands?
bruh. I just feel like if anyone else told parents that, where they're like, oh, I didn't pay you because I didn't realize that was something that you were going to be, and it's like, you're gonna feel like you're in shit hands. Like, if parents had to hear the same crap that they spat at us all the time, they would be like,
There would be an
I'm not gonna
uproar.
work. They would be like, I'm not gonna work here
Yeah.
anymore. My employer doesn't respect me. They don't understand that I have stuff I need to take care of at home. They don't understand this and they don't understand that. And it's like, great, so you understand that that's what you do to your kid every time that you say that to them. You know what I mean? They're gonna be like, oh, my employer doesn't understand that I have a family, and my employer doesn't understand that I have this, and this to do. Yeah.
That's
Same
a bad
thing.
employer right there.
Yeah, and it's a bad mother and father. If you wouldn't like it been done to you, then just don't do it. And I think that's my biggest pet peeve in families.
It all boils down to the age-old saying of treat people how you want to be treated and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like family members are the main ones that don't do that. They're the main ones that don't do that. Do we have any final notes or final stories or anything before we go ahead and sign off? Kendall,
Yep.
get that wheel up, buddy, while we're talking.
It's already up. It's already up.
Oh, okay. Any last minute stuff then?
Ethan.
No, not that I can think of. No.
Oh, okay. All right.
What was the
Well, let's
question?
get ready to spin this wheel.
Spin the wheel, baby. I'm ready for this. I'm always ready to spin the wheel. Or I love the wheel. The wheel.
The
of,
wheel.
the
The wheel of misfortune.
The person I think I should be next host. Everyone else got a turn. When's my turn?
No,
Topics.
it's just me and Kat have gotten turns so far.
No, Ethan
had a
was
turn.
the first host. Yeah, I never got a turn.
Oh yeah, Ethan was the first one.
Let's see.
Swear to God.
Oh, it
Could
works
you imagine-
out.
Could you
works
imagine if
out.
it stopped on me?
If it stopped me, I would have been pissed. All right. Looks like I'm the next host. Next is going to be a fun episode next time.
Yeah.
Really?
Or,
And of
Yeah.
course, we're not going to tell everyone what the topic is for next time. You're just going to have to check
Nope.
out the next episode.
You better if you know what's good for you. I'm saying.
Yeah, if you don't
Better
want it.
because I said so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we said so.
So,
just said so. Valid explanation needed. Just said
Nope.
so.
watch it, or you might
don't
not. You might
deserve
not
an
have the cat next
explanation.
time. Just saying.
Yeah, you
Yep.
don't deserve an explanation. Just do what I say and suck it up and go
You
watch
want to be
the next
happy?
episode.
Watch the next video.
Yeah.
If you want to see Angel get a shit kicked, if you want to see Angel die, go watch the next episode.
Right.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
What?
All right.
All right. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Goodbye.